It's the old coach again, and we're here doing chapter 7 in our book, What a Difference a Day Makes. I was up in Asheville, North Carolina, training and doing sales training for a travel club. And in that, was enjoying it and this kind of thing, but I just knew it was going to be temporary. Nothing I was going to dive into and do forever. But anyway, we were opening 2 or 3 different stores for this guy doing the travel club. And I was down in Greenville, Tennessee, recruiting. And just like any other day, and I've done sales training and recruiting all my life. And it was just another day. But in that day, this guy walked in, and he was mid to late 50s. And he was interviewing for a sales job, which is what we were doing. We're hiring salespeople. And so he sat down in front of me, and we started talking for a minute. And I asked him what he loved in life and all the stuff. But he said he just loved golf. Now, remember back chapter 2 about golf and me. I mean, when I started playing, I got addicted to the game. I just love it. And so when he mentioned golf, he got my attention. And so we talked on for a few minutes, whatever it was, and he said, I've got some patented golf clubs that I've been trying to market forever and can't get nothing done with it. I said, you do? He said, yeah. I said, tell me about it. And he gave me a description of it, which was awesome. It was one hand height, it eliminated about 28,000 moves in golf. And ding, 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 I'm listening. So he said, I got a set of clubs out there in the car. I said, let's go see them. So we got up from the table and went out in the parking lot, got in the trunk of his car and was looking at golf clubs. But hear me, the second I saw them, and they were certainly rough compared to what you do with, but he had to makeshift them to get them done, to bend them in this kind. Anyway, second I saw them, I knew I can make something happen with that. So we cut a deal. And so my mind went away from travel clubs and into golf. And you know, when you're doing something that you love, it ain't always or very seldom about the money. That need and greed button's always going to be there. But it changes when you're doing something that's just passionate. And fast forward to today, when we're sitting here in the M.A.S.H headquarters, and our whole thought is 160,000 born-again people joining this army. And that ain't about money. It's about souls. There's a difference in something that you really love and are passionate about. Well, I loved and was passionate about golf. So I decided I'm going to do that. I'm going to do these golf clubs. So I hunted all over the Southeast for a place that we could demonstrate golf and have a place that we could bring people to present what we're doing to them. And finally, I found a clubhouse on a golf course in Columbia, South Carolina. that they'd built a new clubhouse, and this was sitting vacant right on the driving range. And I went, yay. So we went down, and I made a deal with that golf course owner. We went down there and opened that little room, and it was just a one-room thing with a bathroom so we had to do marketing and club doings and then training all in the same hole. So we started, and it was lead generating. How do we get somebody? Because we want families. And the beauty of what we did in that golf business was, our motto was simple. We won't sell clubs without lessons. Because in the golf industry, so few people ever take a lesson. That's why they'll never break 90. And so in that process, that's what I did. No, if you're going to buy these clubs, you're going to have lessons to go with them that'll get you where you want to go with your golf game. Because I wanted to bring every family in the world into golf, because I believe it's the best game that ever was. So, but I knew this. If I'm going to get families to come and play golf, I've got to get the women and the mothers to play golf. Because like it or not, men, women, you better get your bride involved in whatever you're doing if you're going to enjoy it. So how do I get women to come and agree for her and the family to play golf? Well, I just backed up one step. And what I just finished doing was a travel club. And every mother in the world wants her family to go and enjoy vacations. And I went ding, 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 ding. So I went and started a travel club at the same time with this. And so we had resorts all over the world that had golf courses and people could go play. So it was a great package. I mean, great. So the first month, I was in there and went invite people in to listen to a presentation, but it was hard to get them to come. And so we wound up bribing people to come and listen to the presentation. And we would go out and market the area there in Columbia. And we would give them a dinner at Outback or Red Lobster somewhere just to come and listen to the presentation. And that started people coming in and listening. So when we first started, I didn't make but one sale that first month. And the second month, I made 2. Third month, I made 4. And it was just doubling every month, which was good. And then, but somewhere in about month 3 or 4, and I was just staying in the cheapest motel I could find there in Columbia to work out of, to come to work. And I hired a young lady that was just dynamite, greeting and telemarketing people. But so anyway, somewhere in them first 6 months, this couple walked in, man and wife, and had 2 boys. And but when they walked in, they had a beautiful couple, big old man. I mean, he was my size. But we sat down and talked, and I could tell instantly that he liked golf. He wasn't a good player, but he liked it. Now, that was true with most families that walked in. The men would sit across the table from me and pray that I was good enough salesman to sell their wife on the idea of the family playing golf. And naturally didn't say a word, but that was they knew that if that happened, because this was not a cheap sale. I mean, the clubs were expensive with lessons. But anyway, this couple walked in, and I just fell in love with them immediately. And so when we finished, they bought 4 sets of golf clubs, that everybody in the family, and we're going to give them lessons and all that stuff, and a travel club. The travel club would let them go in 5,500 different resorts and stay there cheap and play golf cheap. So that was the beauty of it. It was a no-brainer. Boom, boom. Now, in the end of the presentation, their names were Joe and Denise Grice. But Denise, at the end of the presentation, she looked at me dead serious, beautiful young lady. She said, Mr. McGill, if this ain't exactly like you said it was, I'm going to be back and you ain't going to like it. And I just shook my head and I said, what do you do for a living? She said, I'm the pastor's wife. Oh. Where do y'all pastor? Church of God down here. I said, I'm going to be there Sunday morning. And if it ain't exactly the way it is, I'll be back. You won't like it. And we laughed. But anyway, that Sunday morning, I walked into church, and I was a little bit late, but not much. But when I walked in, the choir was all up front standing there, and the choir leader was up talking and just kind of, but when I walked in, Denise was sitting in that choir. And I'm in the back, and nobody can see me except the choir. And when I pointed at her and went, I mean, you could see the demeanor of everybody up there. What in the world? And Denise was basically just, but she's always great attitude. So I sat there and heard an awesome message. This man is a speaker. This man is a preacher. This man is called of God. And I can tell. Either the second or third Sunday I was there, Joe announced that he was going to have a seed service a month from now. I don't remember the dates exactly, but seed service. Seed service. Yeah, you're going to come in, put your money in a plate, and ask God to bless it for what. And I went, yeah, that's a money scam. That's where my mind went. So anyway, I didn't even think any more about it. And I'm just up going to church like I do. And when we got through the door, Joe said, this is Seed Sunday. So, now hear me, the next few minutes is really comical. I'm sitting there, and I've got one check in my pocket. And that's what I was going to pay my tithes, and that's what I had. So, and Joe was talking, and then I love when the Holy Spirit speaks to us and gives you direction. I just love it most of the time. So I'm listening, and I'm sitting in a pew. I'm by myself, and there's nobody sitting right in front of me. And I was on the third pew from the back. That was my seat. And I just wanted to put my name on it because that's where I sat every Sunday, right there. So Joe was doing his thing up there, and he said, now this is how it's going to work. One pew at a time, you're going to get up and come up here and drop your money or your check, whatever it is, in the offering plate, and right then ask God to bless whatever it is you're needing blessed, because this is a seed that's going to grow. That's how he put it. So this row goes and that row goes, and it was a 3-section church. So it was time for the row in front of me got up and went, so I knew it was next, and I was thinking, I don't know what to pray for or ask for. I hate to get up and write a check and say, bless my business. That seems But that's where my mind was. I mean, my mind was constantly on business. That's where we was at. But anyway, I stood up and I said, God, how much money? That's just how I put it. How much money did I put in this? And he said, $5,000. And I just stopped. And I said, what? And in my spirit, $5,000. I said, you mean 500? No, 5,000. I didn't have but $4,900 in the bank. So I'm sitting there battling on myself, and I walk up the aisle of that church. It can't be right. But when I got to the altar, I wrote a check for $5,000, knowing I'd have to beat it to the bank in the morning for it to be good. So I folded it and put it in the offering plate. And I honestly, when I was standing there, said, Lord, I don't know what to ask or what to put this for seed. So I didn't say anything. I just started walking back to the pew and under my breath doing everything but cussing. You got to be the dumbest human that ever lived. You're trying to grow your business, and now you spent every dime you got on something that's what? I mean, that's what. So I keep on, and I get back to my seat, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching Joe up front, and there's a lot of activity and a lot of excitement in everybody's heart but mine. And so anyway, I'm looking at Joe, but I just glanced down, and under the second pew up there, under the pew, was one penny laying on the floor. And I saw it, and I didn't think any more about it, but just in a minute, I went back to that penny. And then I'm back up with Joe watching what's going on, and back to that penny. And then it finally went, what? What's? I wouldn't bend over and pick up a quarter. But anyway, it just wouldn't go away. I got my 270-pound out of my pew, walked to the pew in front of me, got down on my knees, and got under that pew and picked up that penny. And thinking, how dumb is this? I stuck the penny in my pocket, and anyway, church gets over and all this stuff, but listen to me. All afternoon, you big dummy, you are dumb as a box of rocks. And then all night long, tossed, turned. How dumb's that? Now, you're trying your best to do enough sales here in Columbia that you can get into a larger market. You need that, because credit here wasn't good, and everything we did was put on credit cards and that kind of stuff. But anyway, we needed to go. And I had moved from the golf course inside the mall there in Columbia and built an indoor academy. It's beautiful. Nobody had ever done it. Simulators and putting greens and all the stuff inside. But it was the talk of the mall world. That was a mall. And so I got wrote up the first month in the mall magazines and that kind of stuff. But man, it was all I could do to just keep my head above water. So here I am, battling that all night long, and get up Monday morning and got to be at the bank at exactly 9 o'clock, and then go over to the mall and start work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't answer all the hows and whys, but God is just amazing. I walked in, and Nicole was my office manager, and she was just bubbly personality and anything to help promote and do what we was doing. But I walked in my store, and I was good morning, and we've got to sell something today. the bucket is bare. We got to sell something today. So, and I didn't more than get in the store, and the phone rang. And Nicole answered it and said, Mr. McGill, you got a phone call. And I said, okay. So I went and picked up the phone. And I just said, it's George. Mr. McGill, this is, I don't remember her name, from Discover Mills in Atlanta. Huge mall. And the Mills Corporation was one of the biggest mall builders in the nation. And she said, I'm the leasing agent here, and our mall manager wants to speak to you. You got a minute? I said, sure. So he got on the phone. He said, we've heard all about your store up there. We'd love for you to come down to Discover Mills and look at the space we got. And I went, okay. Now, in my heart, I knew what it cost to build out a space and what rent was in those big malls. So I said, okay, I'll come down. And he said, can you come today? And I thought for a minute. I said, yeah, I'll be there in 2.5, 3 hours. That's how long it took to drive there. So I got in my car, and again, that drive was unbelievable. You big dummy. Where'd that call come from? You big dummy. No rhyme or reason. So I pull in that mall, and I walk into the mall office. And that leasing agent met me and just totally cordial. And this is the part where it's God. She said, we've got a space just down the mall here. It's 5,000 square feet. I want you to look at it. So we walked down the mall, and they opened them metal louver type doors. They roll them up so you can get in. So they rolled that thing up, and that building was, spotless. Just painted, floors, walls, all of it. And the smell of paint was still there. And I looked at that and went, whoa. Yeah. So we step into the building, step across the threshold, and in the next step that I was going to take, there was one penny laying in the floor. And I was just about to step over it when I went back to that penny at the church under that pew. There was something about that penny. I don't know what it was. Something. So I just reached down, picked it up, looked at it, put it in my pocket. And now we're going back to the office to talk business. So as we start back down there, I know good and well that no longer than I'd been in business and all the stuff we was doing, if they do any background, any checking at all, they're just going to say, well, we can't help you. And I was resolved to that because that's what's going to happen here in a few minutes. So we walked in the mall office and sat down, and she said, well, what'd you think of that? I said, that's a perfect space for what we're doing at my golf company. She said, we thought you'd like that. So here's the lease. We've already got it filled out. Everything done. If you'll just sign it right down there, we're going to give you 90 days to get this built out before you ever make a payment. Yeah. That's silence. Now, you can't put silence in a book, but on video you can. But I signed that, and we did $86,000 our first month. Now, you're talking about excited. We were excited. And, of course, that spread through the mall world. And so next month we did over 100,000, but we were about that limited with that square footage. But that was great. I mean, we were just excited as we could be. And so sometime during the first part of month 3, I got another phone call from Opry Mills Mall in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, Opry Mill was the kingpin of the Mills malls. It was just beyond beautiful. It was right beside the Opryland Hotel, right on the river. I mean, beautiful. And when I answered the phone, same scenario. Mr. McGill, this is I'm the leasing agent at Opry Mills. We'd love for you to come up and look at our space. And they already knew my numbers because they were on Mills Corporation, so that they could see what we were grossing a month. Anyway, I said, okay, I'll be up there in the morning. So I went up and spent the night in Nashville and went into that mall the next day. And I'd never been in that mall, but it was beautiful. Of course, I was very familiar with malls, with Chick-fil-A and restaurants and stuff. We'd done it. But I went in there, and it was just beautiful. But I walked to the mall office, and she said, we've got a space down the mall, and it's 12,000 square feet. It's what? 12,000 square feet. And so we walked down the mall, and they opened the doors again, and there is absolutely a beautiful, beyond words, how beautiful that was. And God is always, I can't explain it, but he's given me ability to see stuff quick. And when them doors came up, I saw my golf store inside that mall. I pictured it like you'd take I saw it. And I went, whoa. And so I stood there a minute. But when I walked in, or I had the picture, but when I walked in, I stepped in, and the second step I was going to take, there was one penny laying in the floor. One penny. And I started again to step over it, but I didn't. I reached down and picked it up and put it in my pocket. We go down the mall, and it was almost verbatim. Did you like it? I sure did. It's $12,000 a month rent. And here's your lease. And we're going to give you 4 months to get it billed out before you ever have a payment. I signed it and floated out of that mall into the car and back to Atlanta. And when I opened that store, I decided I'm going to make Nashville, Tennessee my headquarters. That's where we're going to build this business. So, and I want to use kind of the same model that Truett did with Chick-fil-A. I want to have owner-operators that operate the stores, and I want them to make good money. So this first year in this store, I'm going to be that person. I'm going in here and operate this like I'm an owner-operator and document everything we're doing to see how it can be done. Well, hear me. That first year in Opry Mills, my net on that store was $980,000. Net. We made that much money. Now, was I excited? Mm-mm-mm. Now, we were rolling in this, but God showed me pennies, and I called them God pennies. Everywhere we went, there was not everywhere, but when it mattered, there would be a God, and I knew it when I'd see it. It wasn't. I could see a penny in that, but if it was a God penny, I knew it. So we go through that, and we're building stores, and the first 6 stores that I leased, when I walked in the building, there was 1 penny laying in the floor. And that was just like a road map to me. Yeah, do this. And it's awesome. So and we're just rolling. I mean, I had 150 employees and all these stores and doing $20 million a year in sales. But in August of 2008, was on a golf course here in Nashville. And I had my staff, a couple of my pros and president of my company and the CFO was all out there playing golf. And I don't know, it's 3 or 4 foursomes of us, but the foursome I was playing with, we come up on a par 4. And as we drove in there, the green's over here to our left from our golf carts, and there was a kind of a field behind it, but then tree line back behind that. But we got up on that green, and I missed about a 2-foot downhill putt. And it just, I mean, I fried in that. You're not supposed to in golf, but I did. I took my putter and just slung it out in that field. Now, I've never done that in my life, ever. Because something you don't do. You just don't do it in golf. But anyway, and I don't know what made that severe, but it did. I don't remember. But the cart's over here, and we're going to the next tee box, and my putter's out there. So I walk out there to pick up my putter. And when I got to my putter, I had one of them big grips on it. I love them big grip putters. So I reached down and grabbed the handle of my putter and picked it up to go, and there was a penny laying under the grip on my putter. 1 penny. And I reached back and picked that penny up. And it was snarled beyond words. Bent, twisted, dirty. And I went back to the cart and I said, fellas, I don't know what's coming, but it's bad. I just got the warning. So in November, it all crashed, 2008. We couldn't get any financing. We couldn't get nothing done. And the company just collapsed. And back there when I picked that bad penny up, my net worth certified, bank certified, $34 million. And a year from that date, it was nothing. I spent every dime I could get a hold of, thinking we could salvage that. It was a tsunami. And gone. Oh my goodness. But sometime during this, just a few months before this happened, I was back in Columbia and I went to church. I hadn't been in the church in months in that church. And Joe's message that day was this: you can do more with God in a penny than you can with all the money man ever made. Now, I was applauding that when I sat and listened to that message. He didn't know all that. He didn't know the penny story. But that was his message. Now, it's collapsed. Totally collapsed. And I am totally broke beyond words because I did it all. I give it all to make this work. And when I went to the bankruptcy, I can't tell you how low and how broke I was. I borrowed my mom's car to go to the bankruptcy. That's how broke I was. And I come into that, and anybody that's ever been through bankruptcy, it's embarrassing, it's terrible, it's bad. But I come out of the court by myself, out in the parking lot. But I walked up to that car, and I opened the door. And I was getting in, and on the running board between the door and the seat, there was a brand new dime laying in that running board. It wasn't a penny, it was a dime. And I looked at it and thought, what in the world? Because I had lived the last 5 years looking for them God pennies. And now here was a dime. Now hear me, it's so important what's going on even right now today. But when I picked that dime up and looked at it, God spoke to me out loud. It wasn't in here. I talk to him every day out loud. It'll be 10 times bigger next time. Now that was he didn't go any further than that. That's all he said. Now, 10 times bigger. What does that mean? It means 10 times bigger because God said it. Therefore, it's 10 times bigger. Now, I had 16,000 students. I believe that it's the mission of M.A.S.H and GPS to have 160,000 born-again souls headed to heaven. And we are excited to get this done. And if you see this, and God will speak to you, if you need to help us with this, do it. Come see us, fine, whatever. But we are here in these beautiful North Georgia mountains, finding ways to encourage people to be born again. So we'll talk again in the next chapter.